In comic book collecting, we oftentimes talk about single issues, especially on New Comic Book Day. We love a classic trade paperback because of how compact they are. And who could forget the good old omnibus? Shout out to Ultimate Spider-Man. There is a middle child. There's someone who is oftentimes forgotten and neglected in this discussion, and I want to put an end to it. Let's talk about the Compendium. I personally love Compendiums because of how they feel. So when it comes to comic book collecting, and especially just being in the community and lending out comics to my friends, I trust in the Compendium because it is quality enough to be carried around, but also when things happen to them, then it's also understandable. And if you don't break the bank in what you spend, then lending it out to friends isn't as big of a deal. I oftentimes will be here at the end of the night, on the lap, chilling, leaned back, leg up, and it's just so comfortable. I prefer how a soft cover feels every time versus a hard cover, but that's just me. I'm gonna highlight a couple different compendiums. Shout out to my wife who is recording. I love her. I love you, my sweetie Abby. First off, we got Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner Rising Compendium. I personally have never read any Green Lantern. This was the first time that I was introduced. This was a pretty perfect way to enter into the Green Lantern world as an understanding of maybe who Hal Jordan was or who Hal Jordan is. This brother went crazy, kind of like Andy in The Office when he's like, I'm gonna lose my freaking mind. That's what happened with Hal Jordan in this, and then we have a new Green Lantern. I love the feel of 90s, and so this compendium was just a lot of fun. Power the Green Lantern by your willpower, and so he's very creative, he's very artsy, he's funny, and he was a stand-in after Hal Jordan became Parallax. Thought it was a good run, and I enjoyed the value for the price. Next up, we got Green Lantern Rebirth, and so I was like, okay, I'm feeling Green Lantern a little bit more. Let's see how I feel. This centers around Hal Jordan and explains why he went crazy, so a little bit more of a retcon. My gosh, that's pretty intense there. It also was a lot of fun. So we have different stories about the military, how Hal Jordan how Hal Jordan grew up. We have all the different members of the Green Lantern Corps. It's a lot of sci-fi. I'm not the biggest sci-fi person. There you go, Guy Gardner. He's a very crass character. It has enough action to pull you in. It has enough lore if you're really into deep lore. And it is pretty low-hanging fruit for being able to hop in and enjoy yourself. If we go to Starman, we have another DC one. This brother is big. I could do some serious damage. This is like this really different corner of the DC universe we have by James Robinson. I personally was drawn in by the different lettering, how that looks, and then the art style. You might have anticipated it being a little bit more pastel-esque, but it really is 90s fashion. It looks freaky. I keep pulling up to freaky pictures. We have in this story a young man who is pulled into the Starman legacy. His father was the OG Starman. His brother became Starman. His brother dies early on, so he becomes Starman, and he runs into different people like Solomon Grundy, also runs into Superman, runs into all these different legacy characters, Jay Garrick, but also while interacting with them, we see a much different corner of the DC universe, which I think is a lot of fun. Before I continue on the rest of the compendiums, again, why I love it is the price. So when you end up getting them, sometimes you'll get a compendium and you can't feel it because you're watching the screen, but let me, channel my inner Blue's Clues here and just try to feel this tactile feel here. You can see around the corners that there's some waxing and it starts to peel a little bit. While that is not my favorite thing in the world, or also sometimes there's creasing that happens in the middle, that's not my favorite thing in the world, but also knowing I got this from In Stock Trades, so I got this for like 35 bucks. You kind of get what you pay for, right? So you get a lot of value, you get a lot of reading, but it's not that it'll necessarily last as long as a hardcover would last, but I still love how it feels in comparison to a hardcover. Let's move on to Milestone. My goodness, this right here really changed my life in reading comics. If anybody is familiar with Static, if you've ever watched the cartoon Static Shock, this is where he comes from. So Milestone was an imprint for DC in the 90s. It shows you everything that's on the back. We have Hardware, we have Icon, Blood Syndicate. We also have Static, and we have Zombie. I'm not a fan of Zombie personally. Icon is about a man who is actually an alien, crash lands on Earth during the transatlantic slave trade. And this is a part of that story. He's actually right-leaning. He's kind of like a pick yourself up by the bootstraps, but he is really about his morals. So I love Icon. He's kind of like the Superman archetype. Oh my gosh, I'm going to reread this because I love how it looks. Icon is really good. Hardware, I would say, is my personal favorite. Does it start off with Hardware? Yes, it does. Hardware starts off, and he's like the Iron Man archetype. I also love there's little warnings. So it's like kind of talking about, it's like his suit talking. So it's telling you, okay, this is something that's activated, or telling you, oh, his shell, this is the life that's remaining. This is someone who was super smart and he was taken advantage of by his boss. This is kind of like the suit from Iron Man, where he started to have like the nanotechnology. Is pretty similar to that. But he was a young kid. He was a genius. He had this boss who took advantage of him and would not give him the time of day. And he found out that he was involved in a big crime syndicate. And so this is him being a vigilante against his boss. Hardware is so much fun. Static feels like Spider-Man. So he's like the Spider-Man archetype. And Zombie is, this is Zombie. It's in its own lane of just being freaky deaky and odd. So I don't really like that. Static, one last thing to mention about Static. Every issue he wears a different hat, which is awesome. I love that in cartoons or comics when they actually change up how that looks. Unfortunately, this is an out of print compendium. If you're really feeling it and you have the budget to pay reselling prices, go for it. Otherwise, seriously, just wait and it should come back hopefully sometime. Bone, Jeff Smith. I need to make a dedicated video to Bone. This is the all-in-one compendium. I personally did not want a compendium that had the bust down Amazon sticker in the corner talking about, you know, or no, I think it's an Eisner Award, which is great. Jeff Smith deserves an Eisner, but I wanted just a classic Bone there. If you imagine Toontown mixed with Lord of the Rings, but I don't want to put disrespect on what Jeff Smith did here because there's just a lot. We have Locust, we have Dynasty, and then we have all these people from Boneville. So you have Phony Bone, Funny Bone, and Smiley Bone, and they're run out of Boneville and then they're dragged into Legacy, which I think is really awesome. It's in black and white. You can get different ones that are in color, but I would read it as it's intended in black and white. This was worth the hype. Bone is so good. I'm gonna make a video on Bone and Mouse someday, but for now, I'll leave it there. Last one. I've talked about this in like 3 different videos, so I was like, how do I highlight this a little differently? This is the IDW series. The thing about this compendium, and for those who, real quick, compendiums, real fast. You have comic runs, so those individual issues, but then sometimes what you might have is it falls into a story of other single issues. So like in the Kyle Rayner compendium, I might read that and you might see that you're gonna have Green Lantern, here, let's go here. You might have, you know, from Green Lantern Volume 3, from Green Lantern Volume 3, but then as you go on, from New Titans 117. So what it does is it compiles all the different components of the story into one book. The same thing with an omnibus. Now, with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the IDW collection, the only thing missing here is that these are just collecting in 3 different compendiums the whole story other than the miniseries. And the miniseries are pretty crucial to the story, so you are missing out there, but I'm excited to have this on one shelf. What to highlight this time? I would just say it's fun. So all these characters that we're familiar with. Oh, and the art style shifts quite a bit. It feels cohesive, but it ends up shifting, and it has good numbering in the bottom, which I love. But it feels fun. So we have the 4 turtles, we have Master Splinter, we have Master Shredder, and we have Karai. We have the characters like Casey and April and Baxter Stockman. So all the good characters that we're familiar with. But now we're actually brought into Dynasty, we're brought into Legacy. And instead of it being just the story of these turtles who were turtles and dropped in ooze and become mutated, it's actually falling in line with reincarnation. So it's more of a Dynasty story. It has one of my favorite sagas in comics ever, and that is the City Fall saga, and that is when Leonardo is brainwashed by Master Shredder. I love the connection here. There's one more thing to mention, is that we actually see a lot of parallels. So we see that Master Splinter has an anger problem, and because of that, he has a lot of empathy towards Raphael. The art style shifts from time to time, like you can kind of see it here, as they're on a different planet, planet Utrom. We see Raph, who's fitted up right there doing his thing, and they're fighting gangs. The Purple Dragons, there goes City Fall right there. If you're looking to read Ninja Turtles and see Ninja Turtles in their best form, the Compendiums is an amazing place to start. In-stock trades, panel-bound comics, eBay for check and use things. Compendiums you can find at awesome prices, so don't let the scalpers get you. Please let me know if there are any of you out there who are hopping on the compendium train and loving them as much as I do. They are my favorite format, and I want to find you. There is a Reddit for everything. There is not a Reddit for compendiums. Maybe I should start one. It might be my sign. Let me know your thoughts. If not, more power to you. Thanks so much for watching. Catch y'all next time.